Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Wednesday, October 3rd, 2018.
Commissioner Garcia, Repenning James, Davis, and Jacinto are present. President James, we do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Services.
Tim Tyson, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Asad Al-Najjar, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Maria Martin, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, John Ollinger, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We did receive speaker cards on items number 12 and 13. In addition to that, we did receive 3 email comments on item 12 that has been distributed to all commissioners.
Okay, so we don't have any speaker cards on general public comment, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Then we will close general public comment. Agenda item numbers 2 through 9 are assessment hearings, notifications from the Bureau of Street Lighting. Mr. Al-Najjar, are you handling those this morning?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, sir, on 2 through 9.
Good morning. Yes, item 2 and items 4 through 6 pertain to the lighting district which we are creating in conjunction with private development projects. Item 3 pertains to a lighting district which we are creating in conjunction with a community development block grant CDBG project. Items 7, 8, and 9 pertain to a lighting district which we are creating in conjunction with LADOT initiated bike path project. The ballots for items 2 through 6 were mailed on August 22nd, 2018. The ballots for items 7 through 9 were mailed on August 23rd, 2018. Ballots for items 2 through 6 must be received by the City Clerk Office by next Tuesday, October 9th, 2018 for the council hearing. Ballots for items 7 through 9 must be received by the City Clerk's Office by next Wednesday, October 10, 2018 for the council hearing. We have not received any objections to date for items 2 through 9, so we are requesting for the board to adopt and forward items 2 through 9 forthwith to City Council. Thank you.
Any questions on 2 through 9? Or no objections on 2 through 9? Commissioner Garcia has made a motion that we adopt 2 through 9, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda items 2 through 9. Any issue sending 2 through 9 forthwith? We'll send 2 through 9 forthwith. Agenda item number 15, Council District 9, specifications submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise for the invitation of bids. This is for the NOS Rehabilitation Unit 4 Trinity from 41st Street to alley south of 23rd Street, North Outfall Sewer. The estimate's $14,633,854. The bid receipt date is November 14, 2018. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 15 forthwith by Commissioner Jacinto? Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 16, item sent back for signature. The mayor has approved and authorized the Board of Public Works on behalf of the Bureau of Sanitation to execute the proposed memorandum of agreement with the Department of Water and Power for a term of 1 year or less to reimburse sanitation for the construction of a sewer main and sewer laterals for the Manhattan Wells facility. Is there a second to my motion that we approve agenda item 16 forthwith by Commissioner Repenning and Commissioner Davis? Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 17, the release of a stop payment notice and dismissal of action, Robertson's Ready Mix Limited. Robertson's Ready Mix is transmitting the release of a stop payment notice in the amount of $89,391.57 for furnishing ready mix concrete, rock, and/or sand materials in connection with the San Pedro 3rd Street Relief Storm Drain Project. The primary contract for the project is Mike Bubbalo Construction Company, Incorporated. Is there a second to my motion that we receive agenda item number 17 forthwith by Commissioner Jacinto? Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 1, we have bids excuse me, for the Ventura Boulevard, Amigo Avenue to White Oak Avenue, and Densmore Avenue to Calhoun Avenue STM Capital Improvement Project, Surface Transportation Program, Street Lighting Project. The estimate's $800,000 in Council Districts 3, 4, and 5. Dr. Campos on number 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. For today's bid, we did receive 6 bids in total. We will now begin to open up the bid. Again, this is for the Ventura Boulevard, Amigo Avenue to White Oak Avenue, and Densmore Avenue to Calhoun Avenue project in Council District 3, 4, and 5. The first bid received is from International Line Builders Incorporated for a total bid amount of $838,995 even. That's $838,995 from International Line Builders Incorporated. The next bid is from Elecnor Belco Electric Incorporated for a total bid amount of $815,801 even. That's $815,801 from Elecnor Belco Electric Incorporated. For the record, line item number 7 has been lined out by the contractor and it has been initialed. The third bid is from KDC Incorporated, doing business as Dyne Electric. Their bid is for a total of $892,461 even. Let me say that again, $892,461. That's $892,461 from KDC Incorporated, doing business as Dyne Electric. The next bid is from Aldridge Electric Incorporated. That's ALDRIDGE Electric Incorporated for a total bid amount of $1,452,999 even. That's $1,452,999 from Aldridge Electric Incorporated. The fifth bid is from Servitech Solutions Incorporated for a total bid amount of $905,311.77. That's $905,311.77 from Servitech Solutions Incorporated. The sixth and final bid received for this project is from Surgeon Electric California, LLC, for a total bid amount of $1,105,081 even. That's $1105081 from Sturgeon Electric California Incorporated. For the record, line item number 5 has been lined out and initialed by the contractor. Mr. President, that concludes the bid openings for today's agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second to my motion that the bids be received, opened, and declared forthwith by Commissioners Repenning and Garcia? Any objection? Without objection, that will be the order. Thank you both. Agenda item number 14, Council District 11, a motion, bid rejection, Asilomar Boulevard Deep Soil Mixing Pilot Study, recommending that the board reject all bids for the above-named project and authorize the Bureau of Engineering to immediately re-advertise the project to the emergency pre-qualified on-call geotechnical structural contractors list administered by engineering. Mr. Kunish.
Good morning. My name is Craig Kunish. I'm the project manager for the subject project, and I'm with the Geotechnical Engineering Division of the Bureau of Engineering. On July 8th, we received bids for the subject project, which were actually, we advertised on July 6th, and we received them on August 16th. And the purpose of this project is to gather information in order to allow the City of Los Angeles to better understand the feasibility of using the deep soil mixing procedure as a construction method, also to increase and expand the city's knowledge of deep soil mixing for potential future projects, and to also design and construct a geotechnically stable roadway in order to prevent further movement of Asilomar Boulevard in the Pacific Palisades. Now, the deep soil mixing procedure is a relatively new construction method that utilizes a specialized drill rig that mixes the soil and earth materials with a cement grout. Now the earth materials act as an aggregate, and the cement grout acts as a cement or as a binder, which hardens and improves the strength of the subsurface materials. Now, the primary goal of performing this study on Asilomar Boulevard was to evaluate the level of mixing and improvements that can be attained, as well as gather specific information on the rate of the deep soil mixing installation, and improve future costing and bidding of the future stabilization project. Now, upon receiving the bids came in much higher than our budget, and with the assistance of our on-call consultant, we reevaluated the scope of our project, we reduced it, and we also increased the cost of our city engineer's cost estimate to account for the vast difference we got from the original bids. So we would like to have the bids, the existing bids rejected, and we would like to have the ability to re-advertise this project with a reduced scope.
In doing so, Mr. Kunish, the Engineering Bureau anticipates that you'll end up with better bids?
Yes, that is correct. More accurate bids than we received before, because apparently we didn't realize it at the time that we did our original bids, but there's a big cost difference. Our original scope called for 120-foot deep columns, and we found out during the bidding process that there's a big price increase from 100 feet down. So that's why we revised our columns to 90 feet instead of 120 feet, which is a 25% reduction. And we've also increased our city engineer's cost estimate based upon information that we gleaned from the bids we received to account for the big difference that we encountered on the existing bids.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Craig, thank you for this. I support it. I think it's prudent that we go ahead and pull back and we revise the scope of work. What we're interested in learning is this new technology and how it help us as an alternative to stabilizing landslides and all that. So
Yes.
Support it, and we're going to go out immediately with the revised.
That's
scope of work.
correct.
Okay, great. I support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. I'll take that as a motion. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 14. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Any issue sending 14 forthwith? We will send 14 forthwith. Agenda item 10 in Council Districts 8 and 11, budget increase in change order number 10, secondary sewer renewal program, Z24 La Brea Avenue and 63rd Street, and U07 Sentinel Avenue and Idaho Avenue project, recommending that the board authorize $180,018 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $1,506,295 for the project. And secondly, authorize the city engineer to issue supplemental agreement change order number 10 to M&R Construction for a not to exceed amount of $350,000 for the secondary sewer renewal program Z24 La Brea Avenue and 63rd Street and U07 Centinela Avenue and Idaho Avenue project to repair the 10-inch sewer. Stephen Chow.
Stephen Chow, Bureau of Engineering, Construction Manager. This project is for the secondary renewal projects. It requires the point repairs and lining. The point repairs is needed due to the sewer offset damage. It needs to be done before lining. The sewer depth is about 31 feet deep, and it's located at the center of the street. So in order to repair, the street closure is needed. So for the council district has requested the work to be done on nights and weekends in order to minimize to the community impacts. With this new time frame requirement, the cost is significantly increased, and then the engineer estimates the cost is not to exceed about $350,000, which exceeds the 25% of the contract. It's required the supplemental agreement change order. In order not to delay to the project, we requested authorization from the BOE Commissioner Jacinto, and then we receive approval. At this time, the majority of the point repairs has been completed. So I would like to request this item to be adopted forthwith. Thanks.
Thank you, and I would just note, as the board report indicates, the emergency authorization provided by Commissioner Jacinto. So I'll make a motion that without questions that we adopt agenda item number 10, seconded by Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 10. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any issue sending number 10 forthwith? We will send number 10 forthwith. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Friday, August 31st, 2018? By Commissioners Repenning and Garcia. Any objection? Without objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 11, task for solicitation number 41, Gonzalez Goodell Architects and Perkins Will Architect, recommending that the board first authorize the city engineer to issue the feasibility studies and design services for the emergency bridge housing to Gonzalez Goodell Architects and Perkins Will Architect from the pre-qualified on-call architectural and related professional services for various city projects consultants list to provide architectural design services for the homeless facility program as stated in task order solicitation number 41, with a budget authority not to exceed $2,250,000. Secondly, authorize the city engineer to issue the design services to Gonzalez Goodell Architects from the pre-qualified on-call architectural and related professional services for various city projects consultants list to provide architectural design services for the Proposition HHH Navigation Center in Council District 2, as stated in task order solicitation number 41, with a budget authority not to exceed $324,262, including contingencies. And third, authorize the city engineer to issue the design services to Perkins Will Architect from the pre-qualified on-call architectural and related professional services for various city projects consultants list. Say that one fast 3 times, Alan. To provide architectural design services for the Proposition HHH Storage Center in Council District number 15, homeless facility program, as stated in task order solicitation number 41, with a budget authority not to exceed $376,132, including contingencies. Mr. Kawaguchi on number 11.
Good morning, Commissioners and Bureau Heads. That's a mouthful to say. I'm Alan Kawaguchi with the Bureau of Engineering. I'm the program manager over the homeless facility just for the Bureau of Engineering, because this is an effort that's led by all the departments that are participating, not just the Public Works, but also with Department of Building and Safety, Harbor. All the different departments are participating in this and trying to get this initiative moving forward. What we have before you is, again, this task order solicitation, and we're asking for approval to authorize this work. What we did early on in February, we released a task order, number 41, to the on-call architectural list. 7 firms had responded. During that time frame, when we had the respondents, the mayor in April declared the homeless initiative as being one of the highest priorities in his agenda. So the firms resubmitted, and we did interview 3 firms, and 2 firms were selected. The first item that you see in front of you is for feasibility studies and design services for the bridge housing. The second ones are for actually permanent facilities. One is for a navigation center out in CD2, and the other is a navigation center out in CD15. The difference between the two is navigation centers are permanent facilities. The emergency bridge housings are temporary in nature. At the request of Commissioner Jacinto, we put together a very quick overview of the homeless program that you have before you, just to kind of give you an idea of what we've been doing. In there, on the very first page, it says that Mayor Garcetti declared the emergency crisis in April. And at that point in May, he actually issued Mayor's Directive number 24, which actually set timeframes down to everything that we do. We have 32 weeks in which to go from a motion when it's introduced into council to opening the facility. So 32 weeks is a very, very tight time frames to do a site look, feasibility study, environmental documents, design, and construction, all at one time. The first one that you see that's on the list is the El Pueblo. That one was actually opened in September 10th to the public. 45 beds were in that facility. The last I had heard, all 45 beds are filled, and there is a waiting list of 54 people that are waiting to get into it. This is a trailer setup. It's made up of 5 trailers, 3 for residential use, 1 for administration, and 1 for hygiene. And you can see some pictures of the decking that was placed into it. And like I said, so far it's been, as far as I heard, a very successful project. Just to give you another spattering, is we have another project that's coming out on the horizon, and that's on CD13, which is on Schrader. This one is the first time that we're using a sprung tent setup, and we're using a tent versus the trailers because the tents are a little more efficient in space. This one will house 70 beds, and like I said, we're going to be starting construction October 15th, and we are slated to open on Martin Luther King right after that, I think on the 16th in January. To show you that the homeless is shared by all the different, not only city, but county and federal. We have a joint venture. The city is the lead at the Veterans Administration on the West Campus. We're building on that one for them. It's got a little bit of an error. It says 70 beds. We're actually building for 100 beds. This has got 2 sprung tents, hygiene trailers. Again, it's a collaborative issue of the city, the county, and the federal government and the VA. So I think that's a really great collaboration. The next one you see is CD15, which is a Brit home. It's on Imperial. This is another collaboration between the City of LA and the County of Los Angeles. This is county property. They're going to fund the operations of it. The city is going to fund the construction of it. So again, this is another one. It's a collaborative issue. We have another one that's down in CD15, which is on Beacon Street. This is a collaboration between the City of LA and Caltrans, so it's a state that's also helping fund that one. So you can see it's a very multi-agency effort to try to do it. On the next page we have is also HHH, which is the permanent housing. So we have 2 that are going to be starting this month. One is going to be in CD4, which is the old Hollywood Library. This one again, we're going to slate it to start construction probably by the end of this month. This one has only 18 beds. It's going to be for women only. And they didn't show this one, but we do have another one called CD2, CD8, excuse me. We'll be starting the construction on that one on October 22nd. So that's more of a navigation center. Navigation centers are mainly used for the homeless to come in to help them assess what needs they have and hopefully job placement, medical placements, and whatever else they would need. If you're additional information, I shouldn't have to tell you, I guess the mayor has his website. But one of the things that I did want to bring your attention to is the mayor had asked the Bureau of Engineering to create a dashboard, which you see on the next one. In the dashboard will actually track the durations, because in the mayor's directive 24, he has the number of days of how long we can each do things. We only have 21 days to do feasibility, we have 6 weeks to do CEQA, we have 1 month to do design, and we have 3 months to construct it, and he wants to be able to track how we're doing. So if anyone wants access to this site, it is a closed site. It's only open by invitation only, but if you'd like an invitation, we can send that out to you so you can also track it as well. And like I said, I think the Bridge Home is not only is a team effort. It's a team effort because the mayor's participating, the council, the CAO, city attorney, all the council offices, Department of Water and Power, Building and Safety, Bureau of Engineering, General Services, who's going to do our construction, the Bureau of Sanitation, Street Lighting, who's adding our lights to it, Office of Accounting, Department of Transportation. So you can see it's a big family of everyone getting together. I've been very impressed, I think, with the way the families are reacting together and doing things very unofficially. I've never had items where we started plan checks without an IDO or anything in place. They're going forward. Sanitation is moving forward on assessing all the capacities and getting ready to install the sewers. Street Lighting has come to us and said, wherever you need lighting, so we are going to illuminate the areas probably better as we build these emergency shelters. Also start converting to LED lights. So I think all those to me are really positive things, and all the things I think the family, city family comes together to deliver. And I think when I saw El Pueblo and I saw the people that were out there, I think that also made a big difference to see how much the impact we had in their lives.
Thank you, Mr. Kawaguchi. Let me just start by saying that this is collaboration by government agencies at its finest. The mayor is actually chairing these update meetings that are happening. I know you're in the room as well.
Once a month we see them.
And the amount of cooperation is, like you said, I think it is precedent setting, And I also think that the model that's being created by our city on this not only will benefit our city going forward, having already implemented this process, but it will be looked at and studied and implemented by other cities going forward as well, particularly when they are met with crisis situations such as that we have been faced with. So thank you, Alan, for the leadership at the Bureau of Engineering. Pass that on to the city engineer and really to all the other city departments that are making this a priority as well. Not only, by the way, the city agencies, but also county agencies and state agencies that we're working with along the way that are also being helpful. And the amount of work in parallel is significant, maybe unprecedented. So thank you, sir.
Can I ask one thing?
Yes.
Just to let you know, the amount of money that we were given for the feasibility studies, they gave the council already authorized $2.25 million. That's only initial jump start. It's a jump start to do 7 facilities and get them going. They said when we need additional funds, we will go back to them. So I'll probably be back to say that we may need to increase this number. They've allocated maybe another $2 million or $3 million. So just to let you know that we will probably be back, because the goal of the mayor's office is for 15 facilities to go in place. Right now, we're probably only at about 6 that we're actually heavily moving forward in. So we see another, 7 or 8 coming along.
We expect that. We're prepared for that. And Dr. Campos and his office will prioritize those requests once they come from you to get on our agenda as soon as possible, meeting our Brown Act requirements.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Repenning.
Alan, I just want to thank you and everyone at engineering for taking the lead on this. I think it's great that we at Public Works get to play such a significant role in this initiative. I think this is exactly what people in LA want to see from the city right now. They want to see that we're nimble enough to step up and start meeting this crisis, and in a way that is positive, that is a reasonable solution. We're not we're not waiting 5 years from now to build permanent shelters. To build permanent supportive housing. We're doing that too, but in the meantime, we understand we need to get people off the streets now for their own safety. And so I know that we're on the fast track. Whatever we as a board can do to support that fast track, we're here to help, and just 100% behind you. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Commissioner Penning. Commissioner Davis.
Alan, I wanted to also thank you for your outstanding work. This is clearly, in every measure, a diverse project that is a project demonstrating excellence in terms of our ability to work with other levels of government and in terms of our goals that we have set for ourselves to decrease the homelessness by 50%. And I think that the funding that we have is going to be critically important moving forward. Obviously, some of the money that you're using locally is it HHH money? Is that?
HHH is for permanent facilities, so usually it's our navigation centers and permanent housing. The general fund actually has, the mayor had set aside roughly $20 million, and I believe right now they've applied for, there's a state surplus that they put for homeless, and we've applied for $45 million in that pot.
Is it still a goal to have a project in each council district in the city of LA?
That's what I've been told. I haven't been told differently. So yes, we're moving in that direction. And just for knowledge, so far to date, from the time the mayor announced this, the Bureau of Engineering has investigated close to 51 sites. So you can see only right now 6 are moving forward, but we're hoping those others start to come along, because I think they're being discussed with the council offices and feasibility and cost.
Yeah, I would just like to say that all over America, municipalities and cities are having the problem of homelessness. And then when you think about the dynamic reality of Los Angeles and how Herculean a problem of homelessness is in our environment, the fact that you all are organizing and taking this challenge on is nothing less than commendable. And I think that, again, not only is it a project demonstrating excellence, I think that at the rate in which you are progressing, or what it appears at this point, is that this truly will be an example of what can be done throughout this country. It's certainly good for this region, but it's also good for America in terms of what you're doing. So again, I can't thank you enough.
I'm hoping that we're moves forward with great speed the same way.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Alan, this is a great day to see this. I want to thank you for this visual presentation to give us the scope of a bridge home, Executive Director 24. And like the mayor says, and we all know that this is the single most important issue that this city is facing in all different levels. And to know that our Bureau of Engineering has been trusted to do this, to design and to work with everybody else and the city departments, of course, our public works family, as you state, and that's so true, and I want to thank all our different bureaus for joining in. It's to do, but I was just with the Bureau of Engineering today. We're doing the strategic plan, and our city engineer, Gary Lee Moore, had talked about how the amount of work that we're doing on a bridge home is so important to the Bureau of Engineering, and being nimble and being able to respond very quickly and to utilize the tools that we have in our toolkit to get stuff done really fast and to create the pipeline so that we can hit this 50%, and knowing that we have HHH for support, permanent supportive housing, that the 3-year transition process will be one that the Bureau and the department is working on totally. So thank you for this whole overview. I understand that if I did my math right, we're looking at about 415 beds in this initial 6 or 7 in the bridge home, right? The design for that?
Correct. Roughly, but like I said, our goal is 100 per district, so it's roughly 1,500 beds is what we're looking for.
So overall, and that's the first phase, and then as we cycle those in 6 months, they will be placed, the homeless will be placed in the permanent supportive.
Correct. The cycle that they're looking at is that each of the beds are turned over once every 3 to 4 months. So if we have a 100-bed facility, they're assuming that in 1 year it's cycled 300 people. So for 3 years, we're cycling 900 people.
Excellent. There's a plan, and we have a way, and I'm glad and happy that our Bureau of Engineering is playing such an important role. I support this totally.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Commissioner Garcia.
My comments are brief. I want to echo what my colleagues have said. This is such a great comprehensive effort by all departments, and I also want to acknowledge the mayor's part in this, that he's actively working in this as well. So also kudos to our mayor for that, and making sure that all of our departments get, work fast on this also. So congratulations, because you're heading up such an important project for the city, and years from now we'll be able to see the fruits of this and the great things that we've done. So congratulations to the Bureau of Engineering for such great work on this, and the rest of the departments as well.
And the rest of the family, because
it's very comprehensive, so that's really an amazing thing to see here at the city.
That's correct. 'Cause like I said, we could not accomplish it without everyone really participating and helping out. And, like I said, the cooperation I've seen has just been really great.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that, too.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 11, seconded by everyone. That'll be the order on agenda item number 11. Any issues sending it forthwith? So that'll be sent forthwith. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item number, the Council District 14, agenda item number 13, Bureaus of Engineering and Contract Administration, requested contract award, North Outfall Sewer Rehabilitation Unit 8, 6th to 8th Streets, right-of-way and Enterprise Street, siphon modification, recommending that the board first find transmittal number 1 to be unmerited as discussed in the report. Secondly, declare Millard and Buntage Construction Company Incorporated the apparent second low bidder to be the lowest responsible bidder after the local business preference percentage is applied, and award Buntage a contract for the project of $8,693,202. And third, authorize myself or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. Mr. Cuevas.
Good morning. Jonathan Cuevas, Bureau of Engineering, Wastewater Conveyance Engineering Division. I'm here today to request the award of the project, 2 projects actually, under 1 contract. The first project is NOS Unit 8, North Outfall Sewer. This project entails 3,000 linear feet of sewer, 60-inch to be rehabilitated by slip lining. The second project is actually siphon. That's about 700 feet, 54-inch siphon to be rehabilitated by 21-inch high-density polyethylene pipe. Moving forward, we did receive bids back on June 13th. We did receive 4 bids. The 3 lowest bids were all under city engineer's estimates, and from attributed to the design of this element, we felt that with the three lowest bids being 120,000 with each other, we thought we had a solid design set. That I had to commend our designers for that. The second low bid is Mladen Buntich. That's only because we're recommending them only because they are applying the local business preference.
And these bids are really close. I mean, they're within
120,000.
Yeah, and even the top two are within like $21,000, $22,000. And when you've got one that's a local business and one that's not, such a low percentage with a low dollar figure, that's going to be taken care of real quick.
Yes.
And we don't have any other speaker cards here other than we have a representative from Buntich if we have any questions. Correct, Dr. Campos?
That is correct. Only if
Okay.
questions.
Okay. Without any questions, then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 13, seconded by Commissioner Penning and Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 13. Any issue sending 13 forthwith? We'll send 13 forthwith. Agenda item number 12. Council District 5, tree removal 10768 West Bellagio Road. Recommending that the board first find that the tree removals are categorically, before I go through this, Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk other than number 12?
Number 12 is the only one pending, yes.
Okay, thank you. Recommending that the board find that the tree removals are categorically exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 4, Category 3 of the City's Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and there's no substantial evidence the proposed project will have significant effect on the environment and is in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. Number 2, find that none of the exceptions to the use of a categorical exemption as set forth in Section 15300.2 of State CEQA guidelines apply. Number 3, specify that the Bureau of Street Services Urban Forestry Division, located at 1149 South Broadway, is custodian of the documents or other material that constitute the record of proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And number 4, review and approve the request for a fee permit to remove 1 coast live oak tree and 20 western sycamores. Replacements are required. This has been continued from Friday, September 21, 2018. It may have been continued before that, but it's not indicated in the record. I could be wrong about that. I have a number of speaker cards on agenda item number 12 as well. Mr. Tyson? So what I would like for you to do is summarize the item, walk us through the chronology of getting us here today. I may interrupt you along the way if there's, only because we have an item in the board report that, at the request of the council office, 1, ought to be accurate, but 2, we need to correct. So I may interrupt you along the way to provide that verbal amendment for the record, Mr. Tyson. After that, then we'll go through the speaker cards. And the reason is I want all of the speakers to have the chronology and to also hear what the city is going to, what our options are legally before the speakers speak, because I don't want what they say to be, in essence, moot. Go ahead, sir.
Tim Tyson, Bureau of Street Services. Commissioners, President James, Bureau representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. Mr. Chris Calstrand, property owner authorized representative, contacted the Bureau of Street Services regarding proposed renovation. The Bureau informed the applicant to obtain the services of a Los Angeles Municipal Code-defined tree expert to evaluate the project's impacts to the site's native protected trees. Mr. Calstrand acquired the services of Dudek and Douglas Duckinson, certified arborist and pest control advisor. Dudek prepared a protected tree report in response to the request and submitted the protected tree report to the Bureau's review. Dudek's report indicates the property contains 112 protected trees. Mr. Dudek's PTR, 8 protected trees would be severely impacted by the proposed grading for the golf course renovation and would require removal. However, during the initial site inspection, Mr. Duncanson observed the subject 8 trees and several other protected trees on the property were negatively affected by the Polyphicus shothole borer and in a state of decline.
That's a disease?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
diseases caused from the prolific shot hole borer called Fusarium. The fungi interrupt, Prolific shot hole borer is a boring insect and the vector that infects their host tree with the fungi called Fusarium ewolacea. The fungi interrupts the transportation of the water and nutrients in the affected trees, causing them to eventually die. Per Dudex and Mr. Duncanson's assessment, 15 additional protected trees are infected with the prolific shot hole borer and in a state of decline and should be removed. The trees impacted by grading and identified for removal are 8, number 1, 2, 4, 7, 17, 27, 28, and 296 in the tree report. They were western sycamore trees, and they are infected with prolific shot hole borer, and also one tree, number 433, coast live oak, and 12, 33, 294, 298, 300, 301, 302, 312, 314, 379, 452, 453, and 463 western sycamores are also affected with the prolific shot hole borer. 2 western sycamore trees, 35 and 36, were severely infested with the prolific shot hole borer and as a result had died and were previously removed in the interest of public safety. The trees measuring approximately 9 to 50 inches in diameter by approximately 12 to 70 feet in height are in fair to poor health. 8 western sycamore trees are within the grading footprint and have the prolific shot hole borer, and an additional 15 protected trees are affected by the prolific shot hole borer. Mr. Duncanson recommends that the subject oak trees and sycamores should be removed to the infestation of the insect and disease. A Bureau arborist inspected the location on October 18, 2017. At that time, 14 of the trees had in excess of 100 hits. I'll call it hits. That's individual holes on the tree where the prolific shot hole borer had drilled into the trees. 5 trees were at 50 hits plus, and 4 trees were at below 50 hits. The arborist agreed with Duncanson's tree assessment and recommendation that the removal of the 21 subject trees should and will be required. All remaining protected trees will be minimally impacted and preserved. Protective fencing was installed. On July 17, 2018, the Bureau received an amendment to the peat protected tree report and was notified that all except 3 of the subject protected trees were removed. The subject trees were removed in February.
Would you back up and repeat,
yes.
Please?
On July 17th, let's say this first. This tree removal permit request was scheduled to be heard at the Board of Public Works on June 11, 2018. Per the request of a concerned citizen and the council office, the item was continued to June 25th and subsequently a few more times thereafter. On July 17, 2018, the Bureau...
And by the way, let me just add to that element of the record, because I received the request for the continuance. The initial request from the continuance came from the council office to me. It may have come to others, but it made its way to me. On at least this ground, the council office was concerned, or a member of the council office, no secret, Mr. Schrader,
correct,
was concerned that the disease of the trees, he was concerned about the disease of the trees, but he was also concerned that the trees might not, that disease itself might not warrant the removal, and they wanted additional time for that to be looked into. So we granted the continuance. Go ahead.
Thank you. Excuse me. On July 17, 2018, the Bureau received the amendment to the protected tree report and was notified that all except 3 trees, 296, 300, and 302 of the subject protected trees were removed. The subject trees were removed in February of 2018. The amendment to the protected tree report used aerial photography and other criteria to substantiate that the trees are not considered native trees by the City of Los Angeles definition, and further states it is possible that the trees were planted as part of the Bel Air Country Club's ongoing landscaping and tree planting programs, and that the trees appear to be part of a golf course planting program. The amendment to the protected tree report failed to give an acceptable reason to believe the trees were not naturally occurring, according to the Bureau. The Bureau does not recognize aerial photography nor the previously mentioned assumptions as a valid method to determine if a protected tree is a native tree or part of a tree planting program. 18 non-permitted protected trees were removed and replaced with 108 trees at a ratio exceeding the board's required 4 trees for every 1 tree removed.
So okay, repeat that again so we're clear. So you have tree replacements that have already occurred as well?
That's correct.
Okay, and in what ratio?
Were removed and replaced with 108 trees at a ratio that exceeds our 4-to-1.
Okay.
And I'll read in here real quick what was planted. The applicant planted 108 trees that included 21 15-gallon container-sized trees, 24-inch box, 12 24-inch box, 5 36-inch box, 28 48-inch box, and 17 60-inch box coast live oak trees. And
how many 60-inch box?
17. I'm sorry, 60, 48. It says 28 48-inch box and 17 60-inch box coast live oak trees and 25 60-inch box size western sycamore trees.
Okay.
To replace the non-permitted protected trees. And at this time, I know there's been different things that have been sent in, and there's treatment that can be done to the trees if everything is caught right away. Now, you can see this has been going on for over a year. So the infestation is according to the...
And Mr. Tyson, can I just summarize? So when the Bureau brought this item to the board in June for our agenda, the trees had already been removed.
Yes, we found out after that.
Yeah, you found out after the fact. Okay, well, we all did, but go ahead.
And then they resubmitted another protected tree report claiming that, and we did, we don't do aerial photography. Now, the entrance of the female to laying of the first egg to when it can fly out or emergence by the adult is 40 days. So this is by the University of Riverside.
You're on the disease now.
Right. This is from the University of Riverside, and we follow the University of Riverside's prioritizing management efforts of the invasive shot hole borer. This is what we follow, is this little thing. And obviously today they have injections that if you don't catch that Prolifica shot hole borer within that first 40 days in the tree and inject it to kill it, it will emerge and it will spread. Now, to catch something on a golf course that not everybody's looking at the trees, they're looking at the golf balls and where they're going. So we have 23 trees that were impacted in all different stages of this, from death, already dead, to minor impacts. My understanding is the female flies off and finds another host tree, and the male goes right back and bores more holes in the tree that he's on, and then the cycle goes on and on.
We're on a country club ground. They have gardeners and arborists.
They mow the yard, they mow the grass, that kind of thing. But even when the tree expert, there was a pest control advisor, was out there looking at the trees, it took him a couple times before he noticed all this going on, according to this. So we did come to board. It got continued. It was never heard, and the time frame has just been going on and on and on. And we were looking at trying to get the trees removed for the disease and the pest, to try to get them out of the ecosystem so that they didn't just fly to the next tree and keep this cycle going, because there's many trees that this pest is impacting.
Mr. Tyson, thank you for the chronology. I would note that the chronology is the result of research and investigation done by the Bureau into what happened once the Bureau learned that the trees had been removed.
That's correct.
So let me deal with this board report issue that was submitted from the council office so that we have a clear record. The amended board report, as you've referenced, the version of the board report that we're seeing today indicates standard language that the Joan Pellico, the 5th District, and when I say standard, this happens for all the council offices with the notifications that you provide to the council offices, regardless of what council office it is.
That's correct.
But right now it's CD5. And the board report indicates that Joan Pellico, 5th Council District Office, was informed of the tree removal request on October 25th, 2017, and the council office does not object to the removals at this time. The council office will notify the Bureau if any tree removal objections are received prior to the board hearing on this matter. So the council office sent a notice saying, indeed, the council office does have objections to the tree removals. In fact, as I referenced earlier, the council office requested the original continuance back in June. They didn't know about the tree removals either.
That's correct.
At that time, and wanted a continuance because they weren't convinced that the disease was such that warranted the removal of the trees, so they wanted to look more into that.
To see if they were treatable.
Right. So that language should be stricken, the standard language about the council office should be stricken from the board report and replaced with the summary of what I just stated, that in June, the council office approached the Board of Public Works requesting a continuance because they were not convinced that the diseases of the trees warranted the removals and were therefore objecting based on that reason. All right? Thank you. So we're square on that. Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Are there any questions of Mr. Tyson on the summary before we go to the speakers? And let me deal with a procedural issue because I have a question, Mr. Jordan. So you've heard this. We now have a situation where even when this first surfaced in the Board of Public Works, those trees have been removed for months.
Yes.
Obviously, we're going to hear, I've got speaker cards from their representatives here, so we're going to get some questions answered in their presentation. But in the meantime, I'm sitting here with a board report seeking a permit for trees that have already been removed. So what are our options, Mr. Jordan? Because my gut on this tells me that this now belongs at the Bureau and not the board. There's no tree removals for us to grant a permit on today.
Yes, there were no other tree removals being sought, as far as I know, based on Mr. Tyson's chronology. The fact that the trees were removed already without a permit, although I didn't see this mentioned in the comments, it does raise an issue under the Protected Tree Ordinance, specifically Section 4606, does provide for a procedure in the event that protected trees are removed without a permit. That is sort of what we would think of as the enforcement provisions of the Protected Tree Ordinance, and it does vest the authority to the Bureau of Street Services to make a determination whether or not to proceed with enforcement of the Protected Tree Ordinance. Specifically, the Bureau of Street Services, under this provision, will look into the matter and then decide whether or not to initiate the enforcement process. That enforcement process is initiated by a notification to the property owner, that a hearing will be conducted, certain procedural steps are done in accordance with the code if that hearing is set. But the threshold matter is the Bureau of Street Services, using its authority, decides whether or not to initiate the enforcement.
Okay.
And then at that point, if the hearing goes forward, there's certain procedural safeguards, including eventually an appeal back to the Board of Public Works if the Bureau of Street Services determines to use the enforcement provisions, which would be moratorium and revocation of building permits.
So we have some experience in this area. It doesn't start with the Board of Public Works. It ends at the Board of Public Works. So for that reason, this matter really needs to be withdrawn. And the authority on enforcement rests with the Bureau of Street Services. So, this, I'm going to remove the agenda item. However, we have representatives here from the applicant as well as from the public that we're going to hear from. And they can speak to whatever they want to speak to on the item, but recognizing that the next approach is going to be to the Bureau of Street Services, not the Board of Public Works. It may eventually get back here, but it's going to go to the Bureau first. Commissioner Repenning.
We normally have a report of some kind printed out that would show us the location of the trees and the health of the trees. And I understand where the item, because of what happened, is we're not going to be voting on it today, but nonetheless, for the purposes of the discussion, I would like to be able to have more information in front of us. Is there...
You didn't receive the copy of this?
Oh.
I have it.
We just have I have this.
I can make sure you get a copy of everything I have. I didn't know you didn't have this.
Okay, can you reiterate what you said, Tim, about the health of the trees that were removed?
Yes, they all had signs of the prolific shut-hole borer, and today, if it's at 100 to 150 hits, is what we call it. That means holes in the tree, or you're exuding, they're bleeding from it and everything like that. As I said, the prolific shut-hole borer is only in the tree for 40 days from the laying of the egg till when it flies back out and starts reimpacting more trees. And the males stay and they just keep working on the tree that they're on. And so the fusarium, there's two things they can inject the tree with. One is to kill the prolific shut-hole borer. The other is to combat the fusarium, which is the fungi that it leaves in the tree. So in order to get the prolific shut-hole borer, you got to get it injected within that first 40 days. As far as treating the tree, that's still in the stages where they're learning all about that. There's no cure. There's the attempts to try to save trees. Once they have crown dieback starting to happen, as they did on the golf course, and with most of the trees, as I stated, 14 of them were in advanced stages of the disease and had crown dieback, and two of them were actually dead. And then you have others in that beginning stages. And it's a rapidly spreading disease by the vector, and it can just go from tree to tree to tree and keep going. On a golf course, there's just trees after trees after trees. So one way to stop it is to remove the trees and monitor all the others, and if you have something happen, then you can actually catch it in time and you can start the treatment of a tree and hopefully save it.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Thank you, sir. I've got Chris Parker and Ryan Gilmore from the Bel Air Country Club. That was the applicant, correct? Okay. So one at a time, you guys can decide which order you want to go.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Chris Parker from Pacific Crest Consultants. I'm the representative for the Bel Air Country Club. I had prepared things to say, but now that things have changed a little bit, I do appreciate the time just to emphasize that these trees were removed on an emergency basis. They were removed because of the threat to not only the hundreds of trees on the Bel Air Country Club's property, but to literally the thousands of trees in the Bel Air and Westwood area. This was not done maliciously. This was not done to skirt any rules. And as was mentioned by Mr. Tyson, our tree experts, through historic records, determined that these trees were not native trees by most people's definition, but we understand that we understand through this process now, especially, that urban forestry does not accept straight receipts that don't specifically say where the trees were planted, doesn't accept photographs that show that trees weren't there when the country club was developed.
And the crux of that is, your argument is if the trees weren't there when the country club was developed, then they're not subject to the protective tree ordinance.
Exactly. The protected tree ordinance, thank you very much, specifically says that it's for native trees. You can have protected species trees that are non-native and they can be removed. And that's what we did because of the emergency situation, because of the infested trees. And I just want to point out also, and it was discussed by Mr. Tyson, I appreciate him making this point, the trees were placed at about a 6-to-1 ratio instead of what your board normally would require, a 4-to-1 ratio. And not only that, we're not talking about the little things that we can get at Home Depot. We're talking about very large, dozens of 60-inch oak trees were planted, and other very large, much larger than what is typically required by this board as far as replacement. So this was done to protect the environment in this area. The country club was dedicated to enhancing the environment and trying to stop the spread of this disease. So thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Parker, did you ever let us know it? Because the message didn't get to us somehow. But it doesn't mean the city is a big place. We've got 50,000 employees. So did you let the city know, hey, we're coming for a tree removal permit post-mortem?
To be fair, it didn't get to me either. I work for the country club on other issues, on other land use development, and they got I'm trying to remember do we even get the hearing notice for the June hearing? Or did somebody call us? No, somebody called. We actually didn't get the hearing notice for the first hearing that was scheduled before you. Somebody called the club and said, hey, Adam, what's going on? So when Adam found out that there was actually a hearing, oh my gosh, that's right, there was something that was filed the previous summer and it hadn't been resolved, didn't realize it, so that's when I got involved. But yeah, so once we got involved, then we're like, okay, wait a minute, we need to, what did happen in these last or the first few months of 2018?
Yeah, because something happened. Obviously, the city had been notified about the request for a tree removal back in 2017.
Correct.
And if the country club is experiencing an emergency situation that the country club is concerned about, for the other trees that are not yet sick, to protect them and the wider tree canopy beyond the footprint of the country club, did you go to anybody in the city and say, hey, look, I know that you guys are busy, but we got an emergency over here. We need to jump ahead in your backlog or in your stack to save these other trees so we can be heard?
If I understand where your question's coming from, and that is...
This might be our fault. I just don't know.
No, I mean, I certainly wouldn't. The urban forestry staff has been excellent. I wouldn't want to point, there's no fingers to point in that direction. Please understand that from our perspective, when it was identified that these trees had a disease that could devastate this area, we then said, wait a minute, are these actually trees that are protected under the protected tree ordinance? And so when we identify that they're not protected trees, they're just like any other tree, then let's get rid of them and get this taken care of immediately. It is a big course, we're able to react quickly.
So that's the determination that your team made unilaterally.
And it was a mistake. And obviously, in retrospect, and now that we have gone through these last several months, it's a lesson that everybody on the team has learned, that they should not have assumed that because the trees were not native, that we didn't get to make that determination. That is definitely a mistake that we made.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Parker. Any questions for Mr. Parker before we move along? Mr. Gilmore.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, hello everybody. I just wanted to reiterate what Tim Tyson had been said about I'm with DUDEC, our findings that at the time there was 14 trees that had extensive dieback. I believe there was 2 trees that were already dead. And these are in high frequently used areas around the grounds. And they can present a lot of hazards with limb failures and dead trees standing next to these courses. So the point being is that we feel they're a great hazard and it was time sensitive for our client to want them out. So that's why they're earmarked in the report as trees that should be removed.
Okay, and we, again, I'm asking just for confirmation to make sure that I'm not trying to point our fingers at ourselves, but, you know, we're a big place. Was there any attempt to notify the city of this emergency prior to try and bump things up before the trees were taken out so that you could ostensibly have taken them out with a permit, possibly?
DUDEC's role in this was not part of the permitting. We just did the studies, the technical studies, and we were made aware of the situation after.
Okay.
So
All right.
we were playing catch up as well.
Any further questions? Thank you, sir. Okay, that's from the applicants. No one else is notified here is aligning with the applicants. Lois Becker?
Hello, I'm here to read the position letter sent by the Federation of Hillside and Canyon Associations.
And we have a copy of that, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Dear President James and honorable commissioners, the Federation of Hillside and Canyon Associations, Inc., founded in 1952, represents 42 homeowner and resident associations with approximately 250,000 constituents spanning the Santa Monica Mountains. At its meeting of July 18, 2018, the Hillside Federation voted to urge the Board of Public Works to consider requiring the analysis of a polyphagous, say that fast 3 times, shot hole borer, PSHB, expert before approving the proposed extensive tree removal at 10768 West Bellagio Road. The Federation also asserts that a categorical exemption is an inappropriate environmental document for a project with obvious significant impacts to 85 trees, including almost 24 protected trees, and with impacts to more than 260 trees. Subsequent to the Federation's action, but before the city approved any removals, the applicant and city both admitted the applicant had already removed the vast majority of trees associated with the project without first obtaining the required permits. This is highly unusual and clearly improper, particularly where no determination on the adequacy of the proffered categorical exemption has been made by any city agency. As our letter of August 24 noted regarding the former case number, community members identified numerous shortcomings in the proposal and project documents. In light of the admitted illegal removals and failure to follow the process mandated by the Los Angeles Municipal Code, the Board of Public Works must consider available remedies to compensate the community for the harm caused by the improper tree removals. Sincerely, Charlie Mims, President.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I guess we're all getting the national notification that we heard about. So it's 11:18. That's when they said they were going to do it.
This is just a test.
Yes. So I think you have to, every cell phone in the country is now, Yeah, if you just go in and it'll stop if you just open your phone. Okay. I have Akeef Escalon. You too, Davis.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Akif Escalan. I'm plant pathologist from University of Riverside, now at the University of California, Davis. My lab has been working on this pest and disease complex since 2012, and I'm here to inform you about this pest and disease complex. It is a pest beetle, came from Southeast Asia. And when it comes to California, it found a lot of suitable hosts. Right now, there are more than 62 different host species. It carries fungus in their mouth. When they find their 3 species, they just bore into the plant, inoculate their fungus, and then feed on their fungus. It's fungus farming beetle. So once the fungus colonized the tree could die. So some of the cases, the plant can recover when it is detected early enough. My lab also has been working on identifying some of the control measures that recently we found some of the chemicals, systemic chemicals, could work when it is applied early enough. So in order to, but if the tree is heavily infested, it is recommended the removal of the trees because the public hazard, also it could be the beetle could be reproducing within the dead host and then increasing the things. So because of that, we have been doing the outreach and extension to educate the public. We produce a bunch of handouts that could be found online in our website, lab website. So that shows people what the infestation levels are and what could be done. So we also have the
2 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
prioritizing management.
Anything you want to leave, you can leave with Mr. Tyson from the Bureau of Street Services right behind you. Thank you. Ms. Becker, I have a question for you. Are you still here? The Federation of Hillside Canyon Associations, you submitted the letter. Was that agendized and a vote taken by your organization? Okay, thank you. Ms. Whitford, I'm sorry. Linda Whitford.
Linda Whitford, Bel Air resident. Good morning, President James and honorable commissioners. Can you imagine how much money the Bel Air Country Club has spent commissioning these various amendment letters and memos from consultants in a vain attempt to spin their violation of the Protected Tree Ordinance and evade responsibility? What a waste of resources that could have been better spent on environmental mitigations to repair the damage they have caused, which I've recently learned they are now compounding by incorrectly spraying with pesticides all 108 new trees supposedly to prevent PSHB, which is completely against the science and PSHB management protocols. To give one example, DUDEC's Protected Tree Report was submitted in September 2017. The Bel Air Country Club says they reviewed historical documents and photos in late 2017 and implies DUDEC did the same. However, in the Protected Tree Amendment letter, DUDEC states that the Bel Air Country Club provided them with the historical photographs and aerial imagery only on June 26, 2018. 7 months after the country club says they decided the trees weren't protected after all, and months after removing them. In short, careful reading of the documents shows the truth of what has occurred here. The Bel Air Country Club removed the trees when convenient for their project, knowingly, without a permit, and thought no one would find out. As for the club's urgent need to remove the trees, what prevented them from advising Mr. Tyson, our Urban Forestry Division manager? Mr. Tyson had already given permission in 2017 for 2 protected trees to be removed because they were dead and deemed a safety hazard. It makes no sense whatsoever that they didn't reach out to him and ask to remove the trees. I find the country club's behavior in these consultant memos dishonest and evasive and very disappointing, and I look forward to closely following the Bureau's next steps.
Thank you, Ms. Whitford. And Ms. Whitford has pointed out kind of the next process with her last statement. The next step is with the Bureau of Street Services. It is not with the Board of Public Works. So the communications should go to the Bureau of Street Services and not to the Board of Public Works. We may end up in an appellate role, but we're not in the initial role. Nikki Miner?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us speak. I'm a Vice President of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council. And our board members feel charged with the duty of care for the environment of the eastern Santa Monica Mountains, and they take that sense of stewardship seriously. The Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council was the first neighborhood council to submit a community impact statement to the city in support of Councilman Corritz's motion last November to broaden the provisions of the protected tree ordinance and strengthen its enforcement. Lack of enforcement is one of the central problems that allows the continual, ongoing destructions of protected native trees in our hillsides. And may I add, all kinds of trees all over the city. Instead of behaving in a way that befits their position in the community, showing leadership and care of the environment and abiding by the requirements of the permit process, the Bel Air Country Club chose to ignore those requirements and then, when discovered, tried to avoid responsibility for their actions with a new story that the trees were not protected after all. When the country club improperly destroyed these trees and the wildlife habitat they provide, they deprived our constituents of their rightful opportunity to be heard and deprived the community of the possibility of preserving the trees. Unlike other forms of valuable infrastructure, trees cannot be replaced once destroyed, a fact that underlines the seriousness and unfairness of the club's actions here. There seems to be an attitude that trees are disposable items like weeds. Well, they're not. They're valuable items. And every protection, every source should be implemented to preserve the trees, not destroy them. Not destroy them to make a den, not destroy them to do whatever people want, like as if they're nothing. And there was mention here of the trees that were not planted here, that were not native here, but they were planted here. When I heard this mention, it made me think that, well, it's tantamount to saying that people who were conceived by in vitro fertilization are not really humans because they came from a different source. Trees that were here to begin with or planted here are still trees. They're still large, valuable things to our environment, and they really belong to be, need to be respected. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Miner. Robin Greenberg.
Hi. My name is Robin Greenberg. I'm president of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council. Our neighborhood council represents the City of Los Angeles hillside communities, from Laurel Canyon to the 405, from Sunset Boulevard to Mulholland. As the advocate for more than 27,000 residents, the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council is made up of representatives from more than 35 residential associations, local schools, businesses, and faith-based institutions. Our board has been following this matter closely, and at its September meeting, we voted unanimously to express the disappointment and concern that the Bel Air Country Club had cut down most of the 23 protected trees without any notice to the Urban Forestry Division before a public hearing was held and without having a tree removal permit. The removal of a large number of protected trees without the opportunity for public input at a hearing is particularly troubling to us. As you know, over the past 18 months, collaborative dialogue between permit applicants and the community has resulted in the preservation of many trees that would otherwise have been removed. To have been denied this opportunity in this instance is especially disappointing, since it appears the decision to cut down 15 of the trees solely due to the presence of PSHB was misguided and not consistent with the current science and management best practices. Thank you for your time, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Ms. Greenberg. Mr. Hall.
Good morning, Jamie Hall with Channel Law Group. I'll first start off by just taking some issue with whether or not a tree removal permit is necessary under the circumstances. We have Mohammed, I forget the developer who built a big house. Well, we didn't say, we're still requiring him to obtain building permits for the thing that he did that was illegal. If you grade something, remove a hillside and you didn't get a grading permit, you're still required to get a grading permit, notwithstanding the fact that you took that action. So I'm not sure we're right here that a tree removal permit is not necessary and that enforcement is the only remedy. That's not consistent with how other city departments behave under similar circumstances. And I also would like to highlight the fact that there'll be an ineffective remedy. 46.06 is withholding or revocation of building permits. Well, what building permits are we dealing with here? This was grading of an import of sand. So what if we go through this process? What are we going to withhold? There was no structure that was built as far as I know. And then secondly, I'd like to note that the notice of exemption for this, I just want to highlight this culture of carelessness that we have going on here. There were 21 protected trees removed, and yet the project description says 3 protected trees that are removed. And this is happening over and over and over, and we need to fix this. And the other thing I want to point out here is that there is still meaningful environmental review that can occur here. This is not just an exercise of paperwork. They replaced all oaks when they removed sycamores. Well, they don't have the same value necessarily, and so we might want to require additional sycamores. And also, what about the replacement of the 62 non-protected trees? We're forgetting about this. Normally, when an M&D is required, we require replacement of significant non-protected trees too, and also about where the trees were planted. So I would urge the city to require environmental review even under these circumstances, because the mitigations might be more than just a 4-to-1 replacement ratio or whatever, a little bit higher than what they did. I had more, but that's all I have. Oh, finally, Dr. Akeem Esquin, I just want you to know he flew down here from UC Davis at our request. He is a world expert on this. He's been doing it since 2012, and he recently received an award of arboricultural research from the Western Chapter of International Society of Arboriculture. And the bottom line for him is that we want the city to understand that there's an evolving understanding about best practices for how to deal with this, and he will come up here and be happy to tell you that removal should be the last option. Right now, we think, oh my God, we have to remove them immediately. No, that is not what the current science says. So that's all I have for right now.
Mr. Hall, we would certainly entertain anything you want to put in the record through written suggestions. You're not shy about that. So whatever you want to write to the Bureau as it goes back and makes its determination as to what its options are next. And you could provide, if there's something that you see that you think the board is legally able to do, you can submit that letter to Dr. Campos as well.
Sure. So are you saying that through the enforcement wing, there's more than just revocation of building permits?
I'm not commenting on that.
Okay, got it.
I'm just saying that we're open to considering any suggestions that you submit our way.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
No other speaker cards? Anybody else have speaker cards? Okay, thank you. So that's the end of this item currently. Commissioner Penning?
I do just want to, in going forward with this, and I would encourage you, Mr. Tyson, to, I guess as a piggybacking onto the point made by Mr. Hall, I think removal of as many native trees as were removed in this case, it's environmentally, you can't put it back. You can't put that ecosystem back. Once it's gone, it's gone. That's a native ecosystem, and that's why our regulation around those trees is so stringent. And so, whether they would have needed to go or not, whether it was time sensitive or not, at the end of the day, I think that is for us to determine. And so I don't think it's for us to determine. I know that it's for us to determine. And I do think it's important, maybe there's some way going forward that we can put out some information about, if there are property owners with trees where there are concerns about invasive types of species or different types of things that spread that are hazardous for trees, what our, kind of certified best practices are, our recommendations for those property owners are in order to minimize the risk of invasion, so that while they may be waiting for our approval or the discussion happening at the city level as far as what they're going to be allowed to do, we at least have that in place so that they can have information about what measures could be taken in the meantime to minimize the spread of these things. But, at the end of the day, removal, it is something that cannot be undone, unfortunately, and it doesn't matter how many trees you put back, it can't be undone.
Thank you. Did you want to comment, Mr. Tyson?
I'm fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let me tell you what I would propose. I just had a brief consultation with our city attorney. And I think that rather than withdraw the item, in point to Mr. Hall's comment and the comments that have been made by our speakers, including the country club representatives, rather than withdraw the item, I would like to continue the item. We are still faced with a application for a tree removal permit. We know what the facts are around it right now, as they currently exist. But I want to continue it for a fair amount of time. One, to enable the Bureau of Street Services Urban Forestry Division to review the matter in the way that they would review a matter like this under whatever section it is, I always forget, 4606? Is that it?
Yes, the Bureau's determination on the enforcement provisions is under 4606.
Yes.
The statute as a whole starts at 46.00.
Yes. So under section 4600 and the following sections, but also to leave the door open to the Board of Public Works if we want to deal with, depending on what the Bureau comes up with, the Board of Public Works may want the opportunity to make further determinations on mitigation measures that relate to the subsequent granting of a permit even after the trees were removed that would give us some room to provide mitigation conditions. So I think rather than withdraw the matter, we continue the matter. Mr. Tyson, initially, if we give the Bureau 90 days to go through the record, make a determination, come back to us with a report one way or the other, is that enough time, or do you need more or less time?
That should be sufficient, and we're talking about a report coming back with what's been planted, what could be planted to help mitigate the canopy cover loss.
No, the first thing I want you to deal with is whether or not the Bureau is going to make it. I want you to go back, study the record that you have, and the Bureau makes a determination outside the Board of Public Works
right.
on the enforcement provisions of 4600 and 4606. That's what I'm looking for on the time. Do you need?
I would say 90 days minimum.
We'll start with 90 days. If it's done earlier, you can let us know.
Certainly.
Okay? So because if it's done earlier, even though this item is continued for 90 days, we can agendize that.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to carry this item over. That puts us to right after the holidays in January 2019.
That's put us during the week that this commission will be in recess. That would be Wednesday, January 2nd. So my proposal would be if you want to continue it one additional week, Wednesday the 9th, or
yes.
Monday the 7th, or
Wednesday
Friday
the
11th.
9th. Wednesday, January 9th, 2019. If you happen to have it done earlier, Mr. Tyson, you can let us know and we can agendize that aspect of it.
Will do.
Okay. Anybody here that wants to subscribe to the agenda on this item so that you get a notification. Please let Dr. Campos know here, our executive officer, so that you'll be automatically notified of when any item related to this address at Bellagio gets agendized. You can let Dr. Campos know. Is that okay, colleagues? Okay, then that'll be the order on agenda item number 12. It's been continued 90 days, and we are adjourned this morning. Thank you, everyone.